finish the job.
Hello, Blizzcon 2010. Welcome, StarCraft 2 fans from all over the world. We are in the finals of what has been the greatest worldwide tournament ever.
Of all time. I can't wait to catch these finals. Me and my voice box are very excited right now. Sean, how are you feeling?
Dude, I'm so pumped because not only is this really the two best players in the tournament, but it is also a rematch from their winners bracket round, so we really get to see who will be able to, pull through and win this for $25,000.
And that was a really great match that we already saw. Loner barely pulled it out 2-1. It really looked like Next Genius would win. But here we are, the finals. It is Korea against China. What do you think, Tasteless? Who's going to take it?
Well, both these guys play in the tournament that we do in Korea, the GSL, and both of them have been performing very well. Loner, he was kind of a dark horse starting off, and he's been doing solid. He's easily the best player in China. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd pick Loner. But then again, Next Genius, all the Koreans are saying this guy is easily one of the best Protosses out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Next Genius, not only is he just such a good player, but he has also had one game on the main stage, so he has the chance to calm down a little bit, get in the zone. Loner, I think this is his 4th or 5th match on the main stage, so he's no stranger to the lights and the cheers of the crowd. Personally, I want Next Genius at the very least to win the first best of 3, so that way we can go into a second best of 3, because who doesn't love more games?
Well, that would be superb. And, well, before we talk too much about the players, let's take a look at the 16 faces of the StarCraft 2 tournament that made this competition so special. Well, it is time to talk about Loner against Next Genius. Let's start off with Loner. Tasteless, what can you tell us about this amazing Chinese player?
He's pretty amazing. He knocked me out of a tournament in Shanghai, which kind of sucks. But he's really, really talented. And his early game isn't the best, but his mid game is so solid that it seems like even if he gets behind, he can always manage to just win with solid macro or the ability to control the economics of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Loner is an absolute master of the mid-game. His ability to control his units, to stretch them for every little bit of value is phenomenal. In fact, in a lot of the games of his that we casted, he would come out in a terrible, terrible position at the start of the game and would just slowly pull forward. His opponent wouldn't make some sort of goofy mistake. He wouldn't get lucky. He would force the game ahead just by those basic fundamentals, building a lot of stuff and just controlling it very, very well.
Loner is always a player that tells me, I'm very nervous. I don't think I can do it on stage, but we're all going to look back, I think, in a couple years and say, BlizzCon 2010, that is where Loner came out of his shell and really became a top contender.
Absolutely.
Any of you guys think Loner can win this?
Well, Next Genius, though, he's pretty good, Day 9.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that Next Genius has to make sure he doesn't do is get a little bit overeager with that expansion timing of his. So often he tries to get away with a little bit too much, and that was his weakness against Loner. However, similar to Loner, once he gets to the mid-game, he has such amazing comfort and just seems to just keep getting more upgrades, more units than your average Protoss bear.
Yeah, I got to say, Next Genius, all the Koreans, and we play with a lot of Koreans because we both live in Seoul, they all talk about Next Genius. They just say he's so scary to play against. I've never personally fought Next Genius in a game of StarCraft, but I've heard nothing but the best.
Well, Next Genius was on a Korean StarCraft 1 pro team. He was playing 12 hours a day, playing matches on television. So he is very experienced. Just as we've seen Loner playing so many matches, Next Genius has played even more than that. So this is an unreal finals. I can't believe it. It is time, Tasteless. Are the players ready?
The players are ready. Is the audience ready?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like Loner to take this series, he only has to win one best of 3. Give a cheer to your favorite Chinese Terran. And of course, if any of you would like Next Genius, the mastermind Protoss from South Korea, to win, give a cheer. First map on Scrap Station. Artosis, what are your thoughts on how the players will be opening?
Well, on Scrap Station, there's a lot of room for harassment. We see Terran players open oftentimes with Banshees, sometimes with Medevac dropships, and this really makes Protoss run around trying to cover his behind.
Speaking of which, we got the Protoss over here at the north. He's going to be basically controlling this. If you can follow my mouse on the mini-map here, this region of the map is basically going to be his turf. Down here in the blue is Loner. In this region over here, this is where he is going to be fighting for. Now, we got to go into depth about the map before we can really talk too much more about the players and the strategies. There's an island here that they share, which can play a huge role if you take that and your opponent doesn't scout it. Also, their natural expansion, or in other words, the expansion they're most likely to take is right here. As you can see over here at the ramp, that's where they go from there. Destructible rocks play a huge role on this map. As you can see, you can actually make a pathway right to your opponent's base if you want to.
Absolutely. I mean, noting the map is such a huge role. It would be like if we played a game of chess and just removed one of the squares from the center of the board. Would absolutely change the dynamics of gameplay. So on this map, basic concept, very long distances at the start by ground, but very short distances by air. However, there is a special path in the middle with destructible debris. If you knock that down later on in the game, it becomes very tense because you have a shortcut to your opponent's base, and it looks like Next Genius is sending out a scout probe to see exactly what his opponent is up to.
By the way, if you guys can look at the top left side of the screen, you can see what the APM is of the game, or in other words, the actions per minute. If you're unfamiliar with StarCraft or StarCraft 2, this is a game that requires, in my own personal opinion, more skill than any other game out there. Most pro gamers have 300, literally 300 actions per minute. And you can see right now, currently, our red player right at 300 actually, Loner at about 235. That'll probably pick up as the game progresses.
That's right, and that's the type of speed you need, because in this economy-based game, you have to be aware of everything. If he's trying to attack your economy, the blue mineral area, then you need to defend it. At the same time, you could be attacking 2, 3 other spots. You also have to be spending everything, scouting the map. There's just so much to do that any player of this caliber really needs to be doing at least 250 to 300 different things every minute.
Now, it looks like Next Genius is taking his second gas geyser relatively quickly in his main. That does mean he will be teching up a little bit more quickly, will not be going for a little bit faster of an expansion. And meanwhile, in the Terran base, in Loner's base, he's doing a relatively normal opening. Oh no, the probe in the base does manage to sneak in, so that does mean Next Genius knows exactly what his opponent is doing, doesn't have to do any guesswork, can prepare directly for what he sees.
And, well, we see that Loner is going for 2 barracks. This means he's going to put on at least some pressure early and try to, really mess with Next Genius's game plan. But Next Genius has scouted this, and that is so important. Loner has killed the probe, so now he can go ahead and tech more if he likes. But at the same time, Next Genius, he got more information than he really should have there.
We do see Warp Gate being researched. Warp Gate, very common to get early on as Protoss. That way you can warp in your units. Basically allows you to get units faster in any location where pylons are.
And it looks like Next Genius is playing super safe mode, opting to get that very fast robotics facility that will allow him to get an observer, a cloaked unit that can only look around, but again, because it is invisible, it allows you a complete total knowledge of what your opponent is doing.
And at the same time, throwing up another gateway, so he's going to be pretty unit heavy early on. He wants to make sure he will not die to this attack. And what is this here? It is a command center, and this means that Loner is getting ready to expand to another mineral patch area.
Looks like he's probably going to expand down here. The command center can float, so of course you can move it down here pretty easily. And by the way, scouting SCV. Stop moving for a second, but if he gets up here.
Oh, that was very nice positioning there by that sentry. Just put the sentry directly in front of the SCV to block it so that way he could pick it off again because scouting is so essential. He needed to deny that scout and did it quite marvelously.
And as we saw here, he did not get vision of the Robo. So he's in the dark right now. He has no idea what the Protoss player is doing.
Yeah, and that's a problem. But he has made a Reaper, which I believe is moving right through the map. No, that's an SCV, but I promise you he does have a Reaper somewhere. And he definitely is going to want to scout with that at some point.
Yeah, he was starting that Reaper earlier on. Don't know exactly where it went. Perhaps just ended up canceling it at a later part of the game. Because, again, because scouting's so key, if you see something, sometimes you can back up and cancel units, and another scout does end up getting taken down. But it looks like Loner is playing this out extremely safely. We see a bunker being planted down at the front of his base. That's really only there to really defend against his own fears, because I can tell you right now, there's absolutely nothing coming. This does go to show you how big of a factor nerves are in this competition.
But Next Genius, he is prepared. You see the observer there floating up to the Terran base. It's an invisible unit designed to scout what's going on. And look at that, he sees exactly how many units are there. He sees the command center, realizes he's safe, and well, now he knows that his new expansion that he's making, the Nexus, is going to get up safely.
So it looks like both players are just playing very calmly at this point in time. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Both these players are very talented. They want the game to go on longer. The longer the game is, the more decisions there are, and on average, the better decisions they will make because they are so good. So that's the comfort zone of the expert player, and we can see them both gearing up for their upcoming expansions. Loner continuing to just build units off 3 barracks, scouting SCV, heading up into the base. Again, this is, what, the 3rd or 4th SCV?
Now remember, he has no idea. Let me click on a Terran unit so I can show you the vision. He does not see this expansion. He never saw the Robo. He really has absolutely no idea what his opponent's doing. This is really bad for our Chinese player, Loner.
Loner is playing very blind right now, and that's why we've seen him make some bunkers, some defensive structures, make a lot of units. He's even made a turret, as you can see on the map right there. That'll detect any invisible units that may have caught him off guard before. So he's throwing his net wide, trying to catch anything that Next Genius could do.
And really, the best way to punish a player who's playing too safe is to just keep expanding. And it looks like Loner is starting to attack those destructible rocks in the center of the map, creating a whole bunch of noise. You can even feel the bass on the stage out here. That is a great way to open up an attack path for the later stages of the game. It starts off very long, but it's going to end up very, very close spots.
Now we see a Colossus is making for our Protoss player, Next Genius, and this is the unit of the game right here. This is the most important unit that's going to come on the map. It does a lot of splash damage to tightly compacted units, such as the Marines and the Marauders that you see here. Look how close together they are. You can just do so much damage to them with the Colossus, so Next Genius is going to have to keep his Colossuses alive and be able to destroy the army of Loner with them.
So as we can see, the Terran's got an expansion up. You know, there's something very strange about Loner's playstyle. You notice he attacked the rocks, stopped, moved out here, then walked back up to here. I feel like nerves are starting to kick in here for Loner.
You know, I don't exactly mind that play too much because what's great about little moves like that is it freaks your opponent out. And I don't mean you just want him to feel scared. He will respond incorrectly in the game. He'll make a few more units. He will cut a probe or two, maybe forget an extra pylon. And if Loner was never intending to attack in the first place, it's a great way to get a little bit of extra value out of his existing units.
You know, that's right. Mind games are one of the biggest parts of professional StarCraft. You can really trick your opponent out into doing things he shouldn't do otherwise.
Looks like both players are just continuing to macro up. Again, that is the ability to make lots and lots of units. And because units finish so quickly, looks like Next Genius's Observer almost took a dive into the ground, but fortunately pulls it back at the last second. Yes, because units take so short to finish, you always have to remember to keep going back and building new ones. So every single unit that is on the map was individually built by these players, are being very, very active with that high APM.
Now, as we can see, he's floating a factory over here. Don't be confused. The factory is not very useful for Terran in this matchup, in this situation, but it can fly, so you might as well scout and see what your opponent's doing.
That's right. He has a much better idea now. He does have those Vikings out, as you see. That is the counter to Colossus. They have a really long range, can hit that Colossus unit and do a lot of damage to it. So much of this game will be based upon how well he can control these units to snipe out those Colossuses.
Now, the one real thing that Next Genius needs to worry about is making sure he has enough gateway units. Like you were saying, Artosis, the Colossus is the money unit in this matchup. Protoss desperately wants to keep them alive as much as possible, but they are only strong if there are a lot of basic gateway units underneath them. So without a lot of gateways, Next Genius should be a little bit more vulnerable than normal.
Well, look at here. Let's take a look at the supplies of the players. We have Next Genius at 131 supply, and we have 127 for Loner. So that is within 4 supply at this point. These two are in a dead heat.
Yeah, it's pretty neck and neck. I guess the only thing I could say is Next Genius has been doing a little bit, overall, a better job of gaining intelligence. He's pretty much spotted everything Loner's doing. If Loner wins this under those circumstances, that really says something about Loner because, you know, StarCraft, it's all about deception and trying to fool your opponent.
And again, this comes a lot back to the map that we are seeing right now because the distances are so long. Neither player really wants to be the first to move out and attack because if you're the first to move out and attack, you can get hit by air. It's a little bit risky. Both players just want to play it safe, and it looks like Vikings are starting to move forward towards those Colossus. The Vikings have such long range, they can pick off just 1 or 2 Colossus. That would be huge. And he's getting some shots off. Oh no, it's on hold position. He doesn't notice in time, and he loses a Colossus for nothing.
That is a big deal right there to get a free Colossus, getting almost no damage on his Vikings. That is going to set Loner ahead a little bit here because neither player is taking a 3rd expansion. You need that 3rd base because eventually your 2 bases will run out, and whoever has the most economy in StarCraft is generally the winner.
Yeah, I mean, getting a free Colossus is a lot like finding just a car in your garage you didn't know was there and going, great, perfect. I mean, it is a huge boon to be able to take that out.
Looks like Terran's going to stick with bio, or in other words, just, you know, Marines, Marauders, you know, not too many mechanical units, except for, of course, the Vikings. And it looks like he's going to try to go in here and snipe, assassinate one of these Colossuses. Let's see.
I really like these scans that he's placing. He's seeing where the Colossus is, then he's going to try to find from an angle where he can snipe one. Now, here he goes again. The Colossus just sitting there. Are they on hold position? No, they start running. But a lot of damage. 2 hit points left on that Colossus. But still, that is going to carry through, and that Colossus will not survive long in a real battle.
Okay, we got the command center on the way here. Loner going to expand most likely in this region. He's got to be careful with these Vikings because, believe it or not, even though Vikings fly, Shockers actually walk faster than them. So you got to be very careful not to get caught. Nobody's destroyed the rocks here.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get too close to each other. These guys are both investing in the late game.
Now, this is an extremely tense time. It looks like they are about to engage forward in a huge battle. Uh-oh, really nice positioning right there by Next Genius. He's beginning to move forward. Loner sees it. He's pulling back. He needs to get into a wider arc. He stims. He's trying to pick off the Zealots. Great control by Loner, doing huge amounts of damage. The Zealots are trying to sprint to the front. Some force fields get thrown down, and there the Vikings are starting to wail away on the Colossus.
And it looks like Loner may be winning this battle. The Colossus taking so much damage, only 3 left. Soon we'll be down to 2, and he is microing his Marine Marauder force superbly. He is killing so many units for the value.
But it looks like Next Genius will be the one to force Loner to retreat, and he forgets about a Colossus. Oh no, he loses another Colossus, and that is a very huge loss for Next Genius, who came out a little bit ahead, and it does look like he has stopped Colossus production for the time being. No, he is starting another one because he is also getting Psionic Storm, an extraordinarily strong spell that just eats Marines and Marauders alive.
Well, it looks like it's time for Loner to expand, and as you see after that battle, very close supplies still. That battle was quite even. Loner at 127 and Next Genius at 137.
These guys both expanding to each other. Not much room to separate the two.
Uh-oh, a few units getting caught off guard, get immediately picked off. Loner's trying to get in a good position. He's going to upgrade that command center to a planetary fortress, and really, up until this point, it looked like the players were playing a little bit stale, dry, just sitting around, but I guarantee you that it is an extremely intense period. It feels a lot like an inverted pendulum in these later stages. Whoever expands first runs a huge risk of losing immediately. So you see how both of them expanded at almost exactly the same time because they were aware of how fragile the game is, and it looks like Next Genius is getting ready to make another push.
It looks like a lot of Marauders are here. That planetary needs to finish immediately to help hold this off. And he realizes, oh, here we go. He is engaging. And a lot of micro being done by both sets of units. Marauders running back. And the Vikings killing another Colossus. Amazing play by Loner.
Loner probably could have killed even more had he decided to chase them down. But in the heat of the battle, he didn't. Although, it looks like he might try to go in and engage and go for the kill move here.
Oh, another Colossus. Size Storm all over the Vikings, but only 1 Colossus left. Another nice Size Storm. And you see Loner, he is thinking about retreating at this point because he has very hurt units.
He needs to be careful.
Colossus goes down.
The Money Storm.
It looks like that Size Storm was so brilliant. But he has reinforcements on the way.
So many side storms being thrown down, but he realizes he has to back up. The Marauders can chase units down. They slow them when they attack. Very nice play by both players here. So hard to tell who's ahead.
And you know what's really difficult about Terran is that for the most part, the entire game, they will be making Marines, Marauders, Medivacs, and Vikings those core 4 units, but Next Genius does have the advantage that he can continue to progress forward and eventually get that high Templar tech, but it looks like, oh my goodness, a Banshee coming out, as well as Ghost tech. Ghost, great support unit, can knock down shields with 1 shot.
That's right, and you see that he is rallying down more and more units. He's got that planetary to help him out, but the high Templars of Next Genius are what is really scary for him. They can just go ahead, storm his units, and that will almost negate his medevac dropships.
A very bold Marauder makes his way back home.
Ballsy Marauder decided to go back home. All right. He actually just wanted to scout. Actually, Next Genius's army might be too big in this situation. 2 Colossus, as well as the Templars.
Storm's advancing forward. Oh, that's a ton of damage. Didn't stim, and looks like he's going to stay here. There's not much Loner can do. He just needs to repair and try to get in a slightly better position, trying to pick off one of those Banshees. Banshees deal a lot of damage air to ground. He wants to pick them off to keep his army alive.
That's right. Now, this is the battleground for the rest of the game. Neither player will actually go through the rocks anymore because look how close these bases are. If anyone leaves their army from that area, the other player can simply counterattack and kill the base.
Switching advance here, we have a stim. Another great side storm. Zealots with charge moving in here. As you can see, the Terran army is getting pretty softened up. But nice micro by Loner.
He's doing a lot of damage by pulling those Marauders back and forth. And note that all Loner's really trying to do is take out all of those Zealots because that will force Next Genius to retreat. Unfortunately, Next Genius has 9 gateways in the main right now and is taking the bottom left gold expansion. That's going to help his economy hugely.
Wow, that is a brave expansion. Takes so close and hard to defend. And here we go. It looks like he wants to attack again. He's got those 3 Colossi that outrange everything else here, so he can do a lot of poking with them.
God, such a tense position right now. Loner has a Ghost. He does have enough energy to throw down an EMP. EMP denies all energy, takes that energy right away, as well as shield, so one well-placed EMP can turn the tide of battle. If we look at that resource counting station, we can see that Next Genius is at 158 food, 20 ahead of Loner at 140 food.
Looks like this Banshee is cloaked. It is behind. Is trying to snipe some Colossi. And that is now going after High Templars. And he needs to kill as many as possible. Here comes the Ghost. If he can EMP the High Templars, then he can simply attack. And it will be extremely hard for Next Genius to hold.
He's got to be careful. He's clumping his units together quite close. Oh! Shot the Ghost. Oh, there's another one, though. Was that a Ghost who was killed?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Got a nice feedback off, I believe. Now this other Ghost is going to have to hit the High Templars with an EMP, remove their ability to side storm, or otherwise his army will just be crippled before it even engages.
Loner's now moving forward. Here comes some more Zealots. Loner's trying to pull back. He's trying to spread out. He's relying on the planetary fortress. There's the stim. He needs to be careful not to cluster up those units because one storm can kill almost all of his units. And there's the Archons. Oh, so expensive getting caught in the back. And the 4th heals to try to keep the Archon alive. But Loner really, really wanted that Archon dead. Wow. So he did manage to take both of them out.
I think Loner is gaining a lot of ground now, but with that gold base that Next Genius has just taken, which Loner does not know about, he will fly ahead in a few moments.
He's about to spot it, actually. He's getting close.
Oh, that is one of the worst feelings in StarCraft 2 when you're just going to check up on something and, oh, there's actually a fully finished expansion there.
That's right. He should have scouted a bit earlier, and the army of Next Genius is getting bigger and bigger. Here Loner goes. He realizes he has to get something done. Engaging beautiful micro right there, kiting all the units. Nice EMPs, and now he's going after the Colossus.
Unfortunately, he really should have EMP'd the Templars. He got it. All the Templars still have energy. He instead ended up EMPing the Zealots.
Oh, and at the bottom corner of the map, it looks like a little SWAT team is heading down to the bottom of Marauders. Marauders kill building so fast, but they are out of stim and they are low on health. And it looks like Next Genius is just going for a push at the front. He knows half the units are at the bottom, so there's Loner pulling back, going to try to rely on that planetary fortress. He is repairing, and SCV's taking huge damage. Planetary fortress at half health, gone. And all the SCVs are taking huge hits as well. Oh, storms on all the Marauders at the bottom left. The expansion is gone, but Next Genius still has his own 3rd base alive. Oh, all of Loner's units are getting annihilated, and there's the good game.
Wow.
You know, I just wanted to make sure. I think those were pro gamers playing.
Yeah,
I will admit.
Those guys are
pretty
pretty
sure
good.
of that. Yeah, no. They're both so amazing. That was a great game. You know, they were so neck and neck the entire time, taking their third bases at the exact same time, having the same food for most of the game, and it all came down to just one or two little spells after they both poked and prodded each other so much.
That game was an excellent example of how big of an influence the map can play into a game, because these players are well known for being extremely aggressive, always poking and prodding at their enemy. But of course, because those distances were long, both players began building up bigger and bigger and bigger forces, and neither player really wanted to make the first move, because whoever did that ran the risk of immediately falling behind and getting crushed. So when they finally did it expand at actually the exact same time, it was non-stop battling till the end. So that was a fantastic first match.
Yeah, you know, with Scrap Station, it's a great map for that. But our next map is going to be Xel'Naga Caverns.
Ooh, yeah.
It's a much larger map. The spaces where you battle are much more wide open. And that's going to make the Colossus not quite as strong.
All right, well, we are actually ready to start this. The game is made. The players have confirmed that they're ready. Let's make some noise.
We are going into game 2 between Next Genius and Loner. If you would like Next Genius to win this game and take it to another best of 3, give a cheer for Next Genius! And if you would like Loner, the Chinese superhero, to pull it back 2-1, give a cheer for Loner.
So over here at the bottom left, we have our Chinese Terran player, Loner. He played really well in that last game. He just didn't spot that expansion in time. I think overall his scouting was pretty weak, but he could pull through with a win on this map. You never know. He's a very good player. Up here at the top right, we have Next Genius, who just had stellar, almost perfect play. It's going to be a tough game for Loner, I think.
Yeah, Next Genius, he is such a monster, and he wants to come back. It was a very close match when they hit in the winner bracket final. And in fact, many people thought that Next Genius would take it down, but, you know, one mistake and Loner is going to kill you.
But, you know, it was really hard for Loner in that last game, because on Scrap Station we talked a lot about distances and timing, but there's just not a lot of space to move around. Always very, very tight corridors. The Marines and Marauders tend to just naturally pack together to be able to get stormed and Colossus to death. But on Xel'Naga Caverns, a lot of space, very easy to micro.
Well, so far nobody's done anything too crazy. You know, it's a one-on-one map, so sometimes we see people do moves that are very aggressive, like making gateways outside your opponent's base in regions like this, or sometimes even hiding them inside. But looks like both these guys have a lot of respect for each other. They're just going to try to play a pretty standard game.
Yeah, a lot of the time when you see someone try to cheese early, you know, make those gateways outside the base, try to get a quick win, it's because the player is a lot better than them. Both these players are having such close games. They realize that, well, you know, you want to have that long game because likely you're going to be stopped if you try to rush.
Pretty much synchronized scouting patterns here for these two. Now note this, he's going to harass the SCV, which is making the barracks. That means he's going to have to take that SCV off. He actually might even be able to get the SCV. That would be a huge blow to Loner early on.
Loner's trying to do a surround, but does manage to pull out at the last second. There still is a wounded SCV back there. Always very, very effective play. Again, got to make use out of all your units. May as well do a little harassment with the worker. And meanwhile, in Next Genius's base, same basic structure, a gateway, a cybernetics core, and a gas geyser down.
That's right. We're not really going to see any deviations from the normal openers in Terran vs. Protoss until they can get rid of these scouts. The SCV and the probe can see what's going on, and until you remove them with a ranged unit that they can't run away from, then they are going to be there looking over your shoulder every second, and you just don't want to show them what you're doing.
Absolutely, and something we didn't talk about last game are these Xel'Naga towers that are in the center of the map. If you have a unit next to it, it gives a huge space of vision, and vision is one of the most important resources in StarCraft 2 because you cannot see everything that is going on around the map. Making sure your opponent is not swinging around for a hidden attack or just trying to do some scouts, so key you have vision of the map at all points in time.
And as if to highlight what you said, Day 9, both of them have one watchtower looking around the center of the map. They need to know if their opponent is moving out for an attack.
Factory almost complete here. Loner not going to go for that second barracks early like he did in the previous game. This could mean a lot of different things. He could go for Banshees. You know, he could go. We did see Clyde in the GSL go for Hellions. There's all sorts of strategies you can do. So, you know, Terran, that's one thing about Terran, actually, is that Terran, I think, has the most options of the way they can dictate the game in StarCraft 2.
And it looks like an expansion nexus is going down for Next Genius. Very nice play. And if we actually go into his main, look at this. He has one geyser that is not being mined from at all. He just built that geyser to convince his opponent that he was doing some sort of big tech and just never mined anything from it. Very, very clever play. That's a lot about those mind games you were talking about, Artosis.
Yeah, the mind games are very important. And this game looks like it's going to turn into a battle of the wills, an expansion build against a tech build. And we have a reactor being made there on the factory and a tech lab on the barracks. We may see a Raven out for point defense drone to really crush stalkers, and then maybe some Marine Banshee play, a very strong timing rush.
Loner played with many Legos as a child, swapping all those buildings around with their respective add-ons. He's getting a Banshee from that starport, and he's giving the reactor to the barracks to get plenty of Marines.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. It looks like he is going to go for the getting a bunch of Marines. The Banshee, we guessed Raven, but it is going to be a Banshee. But Marine Banshee timing rushes are very, very deadly. Absolutely. And they're going to get a siege tank with it as well.
Wow, that's going to be quite a force that he's moving out with. Now, he may still think that there's no expansion going on, but you know, Next Genius, he's getting a lot of gateways, going to pump out a bunch of units, and whoever wins the first confrontation is going to be miles ahead.
Now, what Next Genius is doing is getting 4 warp gates right after he gets his expansion. Way more than you would ordinarily want at this phase in the game, but he needs as many units as he can to protect against any sort of early push. So Next Genius is doing the smart thing, but he's kind of committed to playing defender for this point in time. So Loner is now moving out with a Banshee to try to exploit how spread out his opponent will be, to try to pick off some workers, put him behind economically.
Now, something really interesting just happened. The Banshee is on its way to Next Genius space, and he skirted around the Xel'Naga Watchtower exactly. He knows this map inside out. Here we go, harassing the probes. 1 probe down, 2 probes down, and kiting to try to get away from Stalker Fire. Another probe.
We got a little bold. Oh, my goodness. That is the problem with getting a little bit too greedy up on the main stage. You want to kill off as many probes as you can, but even if you kill 1 and then back away, that's still a victory.
He's going to move out now. The Banshee is not just good for harassing. You can actually use it in the middle of a battle.
That's right. It does great damage from the air against ground units. Very hard to deal with early on, so that's going to help him out a lot in this push. Now, this push, I think, is going to be mostly about using the force fields well. He's got to split the army in half and make it so that Loner can't micro by running away, shooting, or kiting, as we call it. And here we go. It is about time.
Oh, a wasted force field.
Yeah, missed force field. Sometimes players want to catch units in the middle so that half the army's blocked off and you can pick it off. Looks like he might actually rush to the main to try to relocate the stalkers.
That's a great idea, and it doesn't look like he's going to buy it. Maybe he should move into the middle line, and now he realizes, uh-oh, I have to send some stalkers up there.
Take a look here, 2 bunkers.
This is awesome. Siege mode is being researched as well, and that Banshee getting a few kills, but being maybe a little bit too greedy like Dana was talking about earlier.
And he's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's fine.
It's okay. No problem. We see a couple bunkers being made. Siege mode is almost done. Siege mode, of course, will make those siege tanks reach much further than any other unit in the game. He can do a nice push then, and this is actually a pretty scary place for Next Genius to be in.
And if we go look at the robotics facility at the natural expansion, a warp prism is being constructed. This is a special transport unit for air, but more importantly, it creates an energy field where you can warp in units, but it looks like Loner is already gearing up for a very aggressive push, sieging up, slowly creeping forward with bunkers and trying to use these Banshees to just scoot all of Next Genius's units into awkward positions, but Next Genius is not going to bite. He's very, very careful to position himself.
That's right. He's not budging at all. And in the meantime, Loner is expanding back at home to his natural base. That command center has just finished up, morphing into an orbital command to call down mules. And it looks like his economy is going to catch up pretty quickly, especially with this Banshee harassment.
Here we go, the battle started up.
It is time. He's not loaded in the bunker, though, so these Zealots are going to do a lot of damage.
The Immortal drop at the back is picking off the tanks. Look at the Zealots swarming forward. Next Genius is annihilating this push by Loner, and now the Warp Prism has created the energy field. He can warp in there. More units warping into the battlefield. That was way more one-sided than it should have been, but that genius positioning by Genius was really genius, actually.
Yes, it was.
We're going to the Banshee in here. He needs to do some damage here. I think the Protoss might even just try to go for the kill move now and end this.
Yeah, it does look like that. Deals with that Banshee, and the supplies are hugely different now. 82 against 60, and this early in the game, that is a gigantic difference.
Protoss now moving southward. He's going to go for the base. I don't know if the Terran has enough. You can see Loner even trying to make buildings in the way so the units can't get there as easily.
Yeah, he has a couple bunkers. He does have Banshees and Siege Tanks. It's going to be hard to really engage this as the Protoss player, but he has so much more, and he's just going to go for it. Zealot's charging in. Stalker's hitting that bunker. SCV's coming out, though, to block and to repair. Here comes,
losing that warp prism. That was a key unit. It was going to be designed to warp in units next to those tanks and pick them off. And look at this Loner. Not only has defended, but has equalized the score. He is back in this game. He has unequalized the score. My
At least he
goodness.
kept that Banshee alive. For the time being, both these guys are taking pretty heavy shots at each other. But as you could look at the resource counting station up here, their supplies are almost even. So Loner still does have a chance.
And right now, if we take a look at what's in production, we are going to see Colossi enter battle relatively soon. He's making that robotics support bay and still pumping out Immortals, a very good unit against the siege tanks. So I really like what both players are doing at this point. And wow, they are just playing amazingly, aren't they, Tasteless?
They really are. They are. These are very high-level players. I'm curious to see what their next move is going to be. Looks like Next Genius is actually going to go ahead and take out the destructible rocks. That'll allow him to get the gold minerals. These minerals give you an income much quicker. And that means that Loner's going to be forced to either expand himself over here or attack.
Now, I still wonder if Next Genius is getting those Colossi a little bit quickly. He does have enough for a Nexus right now, but the big problem with getting high-tech units too quickly is that they're so expensive, and this is a big window for Next Genius to be able to take another expansion to get more money up so he can win a little bit later. Notice he's warping in all these units, getting all these upgrades. There's another Banshee at the far right that it looks like he'll be able to pick off. Loner does manage to escape, but with all this really everything that Next Genius is getting, the only thing he's not getting is an expansion, which I think is really going to hurt him as the game progresses.
That's right. When you get ahead in StarCraft 2, you really have to get more ahead, not try to kill your opponent. And how you do that is taking another expansion. But Next Genius looks like he has no intention of doing so. So these players are still just going to mass up a lot of units, and we're probably going to see a very big confrontation in the middle in a couple minutes here.
Yeah, continuing on what you were saying about getting more ahead, if you were doing what Next Genius is doing, looks like this Banshee is under fire again. I think this Banshee pilot is literally living on only adrenaline. He has had to, I wouldn't go for it. I would actually retreat, Loner. You have 5 health. Oh, sorry.
That was close.
I just had to relieve some tension in my shoulders after that one. That was
I need to take some Xanax. That was pretty stressful. So the Banshee is moving back. Banshee harassment has not been particularly successful in this game.
No, you know, he's lost a lot of Banshees. If you actually count them up, yeah, he's killed some probes. Yeah, he's made Next Genius run around a little bit, but he's really lost, what, 4 Banshees so far? Imagine if he had 5 more Banshees in his army. It would be so much more powerful.
But the big danger is that no expansion up yet for Next Genius. If you make a huge army like Next Genius, you're pretty much hoping that your opponent attacks you at a time when you actually have a lot of units. But as we see, Loner is actually getting an expansion command center, so that big attack that Next Genius is preparing for won't actually come.
And at the exact same time, we have a probe sitting here at the gold base. It looks like Next Genius and Loner, may they take bases at almost the exact same time again.
You can see these guys are so evenly matched. In the way they expand, nobody is ahead for too much longer than the other player. By the way, I can't believe Loner's back in this position considering how late this base was actually taken.
That's right. A lot of bad things can happen when you throw away an army like Next Genius did. He got overzealous, tried to finish the game. That is not what StarCraft is about. It's about building your economy. And he has really paid for that in letting Loner back in here. So it looks like these two both going to expand at almost the same time. The command center is flying over to the gold base. Nexus warping in, but Loner will get a little bit ahead in economy right now.
There's the
They are
gold
literally going to
expansion
get the
lane.
bases at the exact same time.
Yeah, but you know, I think that Loner is going to be in a little bit better of a position. He has more of the army mix that he wants. Next Genius is still trying to get those Colossus, or excuse me, still trying to get those Templar with his Colossus, and Loner still being very bold with a 5-hit point Banshee, and it looks like, oh my goodness, Next Genius is going to go for it. Has a ton of speed zealots swarming in here, but there's the stim. Oh my goodness, look at how many Marines and Marauders there are in that army, and Colossi coming from all angles, but the siege tanks in the back are dealing huge damage, and Loner is forcing Next Genius to retreat.
Wow, beautiful hold there by Loner. Really great point defense drones. It stopped the Stalkers from doing any damage to his army, and now Next Genius is in trouble. It looks like he's still poking and prodding, but as you see here, Loner at 146 supply against just 129 of Next Genius, and I mean, that tells the story right there. Loner is in the lead.
The Nexus is done. He didn't cancel it. He has to keep this Nexus alive. Is he going to just give it up?
Well,
Looks like he's trying to engage, but he is in an awkward position. Zealots are caught behind everything. There's the stim and the Vikings from the right doing a ton of damage to the Colossus, but how is Next Genius eating through that army? More Zealots getting warped in. He does manage to take out the army of Loner. I thought Loner was playing so cautiously, but Next Genius pulls a miracle.
that was actually amazing. I have no idea how that happened. And it is back to almost even here. 107 supply against 113. Both of them have their third bases up. And these two, this is actually the most even match I have ever seen. More so even than Damaga and White Raw.
I have no idea how Next Genius won that.
Yeah, I don't know. I was actually about to say, I thought he was going to lose that battle.
We almost just collectively went GG.
I'm glad I didn't try to call that before it actually happened. So we have 4 Colossi, whatever you want to call them.
Colossus?
Not the easiest unit to cast in a game. They are now going to move forward and try to just control the Xel'Naga Watchtower. As you can see here for Next Genius, he needs to know if these tanks unsiege, if these tanks unsiege like they are now, so he knows to get in a position to defend. Meanwhile, as you can see for Loner scans. He wants to see what's going on up here.
And the big problem that Loner is making right now, it looks like he is slowly trying to siege forward, but you know, even though this push might seem good, he might even be able to get some units. He's trying to target fire Colossus. He gets one Colossus.
Whoa.
Oh, and he will be able to pull out, but I still think the mistake he is making is trying to do too many front pushes. Next Genius has one army that all has to stay together. If Loner did a drop in the main of Next Genius, if he even walked a couple of units around the side, he would be able to do so much damage, but Loner is being way too passive at this phase in the game.
You know, Day9, you are so smart because that is so right. He needs to split up what Next Genius is doing, and by pushing the front, he just plays into the little choke area that Next Genius wants him to be in right here. As you see, the Colossus are going to do a lot more damage in that area. Loner needs to just sit, you know, take a 4th base and harass. Going through this area is not the place he wants to engage.
Looks like he wants to bait him back over here. Get these Vikings in here. The battle begins again.
The Vikings hitting these Colossus, 1 down. Looks like the second will fall soon, and he is kiting right back to that planetary fortress. These Vikings are making the difference, though. 1 Colossus left, and Loner is in even a better position than before, perhaps.
And it looks like he, takes out all the Colossi, and those poor Archons, too slow from the concussive shell, gonna get kited so well, and now Loner is darting up, gonna be able to pick off an Immortal. The Vikings land. Loner is trying to end this base right now, but Next Genius, again, with a huge surge of forces from nowhere, might be able to hold this off. That one Immortal's doing so much damage, he needs to kill it off, but he's not target firing it. There it goes down. Will he be able to stay alive?
I can't believe this. It looks like he is gonna fight it off, but he lost all his Vikings during that. So if Next Genius holds this off, which it looks like he's going to, Loner cannot easily replace so many Vikings, which did almost nothing during that battle. It was completely overzealous and uncalled for.
That was a disaster. When he landed that, I thought, oh no. Loner gave up his advantage. He should have kept those in the air, just picked off the Colossus and retreated. So we're back to an even game again. I can't believe this keeps happening.
116 to 121 supply. I can't believe it. These guys, they do so well to outplay each other and then throw away the advantage attacking in. What else can I say?
Seems like Loner every game has at least one Leroy Jenkins Marauder. And there's the Nexus up at the north going down, and That poor Marauder didn't manage to make his way home, but that fourth base from Next Genius is exactly what he needs to be doing, but Loner is not doing what he needs to be doing, which is using medevacs for drops, moving around the map with small forces.
And it looks like right now, Loner's getting ready to take his fourth. Same timing as Next Genius's fourth. These two are like a mirror.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Note this is an orbital command, not a planetary fortress, so that means you can call down mules, which are basically like super SCVs. You'll see them mining every once in a while. Well, none right now. Oh, wait, what? Are we gonna have a nuke?
There is a nuke.
There's a nuke building. There it is.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
and
it's a nuke.
There's a big confrontation going on in the middle by the left Zelnaga watchtower. Big EMPs taking all those units out. It looks like it's going to be an even trade unless he can take out these Colossi, but without any Vikings at all. The Colossus are free to do as they please. Oh no! All the gateway units are down. He can run up and actually deal damage directly to those Colossi. And here, two Vikings come up a little bit late, take out one of them, and it looks like they're target firing the weakened one, and that falls. And Loner is having to. Wow, yet another exchange.
This is absolutely crazy. They keep trading battles, and as these Marauders walk up, the Vikings can do even more damage to these expensive Colossus units, but he is targeting with Stalkers on them, so he's trying to clean it up, and again, I don't know how this is happening, but 96 supply against 99 supply. These guys are exactly the same skill level.
I feel like I've been watching two men punch each other for several days straight. And they just keep getting up and continue fighting. But the good part for Loner is that his units operate better in small numbers. The one huge advantage that's very subtle that Next Genius is getting is he's having slightly more upgrades. He is getting the +2 attack, and he already has the +1 armor upgrade finished. Meanwhile, Loner has only upgraded his infantry once, and that is really going to bite him as the game progresses.
And it looks like right now he's upgrading Templar starting energy. Now what that's going to do, that signals that we are going to see Next Genius transfer into High Templars and use a lot of Sidestorm that we saw win him that last game. So when he switches tech like that against mostly Marine Marauder Viking unit composition, the Sidestorms are going to do wonderful.
We got the Vikings now just trying to snipe the Colossus. They move back here. Now remember, we do have a Ghost in the game, and he does have nukes. The Ghost, I get a shot of him. This unit right here, able to aim a nuke, which is constructed over here. And I'm really curious to see what his strategy is going to be.
And oh my God, Nick, your prediction at the start of the game was dead on. Go to the APM tab. Next Genius's average APM this game has been 265, and Loner, with a no less impressive 200 himself, is now moving on to the right side, trying to siege up these tanks by the Zelnaga watchtower. Loner is moving to the right now because he has an expansion below him. He needs to move this way to protect it, and there's the scan. He sees some free buildings. Next Genius is trying to get his army in a good spot, and oh, there's a nuke. He's going to try to bait the army for it. It looks like Next Genius sees it. Next Genius, no, does not see it. That is not what you want to be doing right now. Will he get the nuke down? Will it actually land? He's storming. Oh, he takes it down.
Denied. He killed the Ghost before then.
Completely crazy planning, but that is not good for Loner. Look at this. So many units coming up, but will he engage the planetary? He might lose his entire army if he does, but it looks like, oh, he's going to send 3 Zealots down and find this 4th base. Probably going to kill a lot of SCVs, and this is really going to stretch Loner thin.
Oh, no, look at those 3 SCVs at the bottom right. Already starting to wail away at those SCVs. Next Genius has slowly pulled ahead. This mix of Zealots, Immortals, Colossi, and Templars posing too much of a problem for Loner, and now it's swinging around to this left side. Let's see if Loner can pull yet another miracle. Oh, here comes the huge push right now, trying to kite all of those Marauders back. Vikings trying to pick off the Colossus, but it looks like there's just a few too many units. The Immortals at the front dealing huge damage. At the bottom right, the Zealots are dead, but the damage has been done, and it looks like Loner has repelled this, but is in a very, very awkward position unless he can kite these units and pick off these Immortals. Few of the Immortals do fall. He's starting to chew through those units at the front, and is he actually going to kill another army?
Apparently, neither of these guys can kill each other.
And it falls.
Wow. Well, you know, it was an army trade, but it really feels to me like Loner did not get the upper hand there. I think that, as you can see, 100 supply against 75. And Next Genius, he's definitely ahead, but both of them just have 1 mining base. The further the supply drops, even if Next Genius has more, the Terran units are going to do slightly better.
As you can see,
go to the left side of the map.
Oh,
He
very
built an
nice.
engineering bay
here.
He really doesn't want him to
this
expand.
This blocks the Nexus from being here as long as this engineering bay is present.
This is very common at the 2-minute mark in Terran vs. Zerg, but we are at the 32-minute mark, so just reminiscing a little bit.
As you can see, he just will do anything to buy time because he knows right now it's just all about these expansions. Note, gold base is completely empty. So I think this game may come down to the right expansion and the far left expansion.
The engineering bay is getting taken out. He'll be able to expand there now. That was some high-quality entertainment there. Meanwhile, in the center of the map, looks like Loner is regrouping with little Marine Marauder troops, some Vikings there as well. And again, we keep saying that Loner needs to just spread his units out a little more, do little guerrilla harassment with medevacs, with small numbers of infantry, by keeping them clustered. Look at this big death army of Colossi, High Templar, and probes, interestingly enough.
Probes, the mineral patch is somewhat saturated right now, so he's going to have some of these probes to just try to absorb the fire.
That's right, and probes not too bad against Marauders. They get no damage bonus against them, so sometimes you can surround them and make them so they can't run away. So I have no problem with him having probes in his army.
Looks like he's going to move down here again. The Protoss wants to get possession of this area here to make it harder for the Terran to go there. Viking attack, though.
Oh, loses a Viking, deals some damage to Colossus, but not enough right there. And it looks like Next Genius thinking about attacking in, but once he attacks down there, he might lose position on the Terran army.
There is another Ghost out on the field for Loner. Does he have a nuclear missile yet? No, he has not built it, but he will be able to EMP those Templar. Oh, Templar getting caught out of place, and it looks like he will be able to retreat them adequately. And also Loner now expanding to the right, but there will be a Zealot there to block.
That's right. That command center, it's not going to land anytime soon.
Ghost in the middle, going for the EMP. Oh, it does manage to get taken out. There's his burning corpse in the top right of the screen.
I missed it. Sorry, guys.
Ouch. All right.
Looks like we got 2 Templars down here storming stuff.
My.
Oh, with 16 kills combined between them, a Viking is going to land to try to do a little bit of damage, and Loner is rapidly running out of options.
Now, he does not want to lose this command center. Losing this mining area is going to put Next Genius way ahead, but he does just float it off, and Next Genius decides to run because it is time for Loner to move out. He's going to get aggressive, and Next Genius scrambling back into position to guard his expansions.
This is everything on the line for Loner right now. He needs to do a lot of damage. He's actually walking, oh no, to the expansion that doesn't have anything mining at it yet. He should only leave 3 Marauders there. He shouldn't commit too much of his army. He needs to get into a better position. He needs to siege those tanks up. He needs to siege them up. The expansion is going to fall, but here comes the big push. SCVs, probes, Zealots, everything is in this fight. All those Zealots are getting eaten alive. Loner's in a slightly better position, but the Storms are pushing him back. Oh my goodness.
Feedback on the medevac, and so many Storms of the Marauders. It looks like they are not going to get healed anymore. Next G is cleaning
up. And there's a good game.
GG.
It's another best of 3.
That's right.
Wow. That was pretty sick. All right, we're going to get the information for what maps they're going to do next. They have to eliminate the maps, so we're going to talk about that for a little bit. I can't believe how evenly matched these guys are.
It's completely unbelievable. You know, Loner won in the winner bracket. Now Next Genius has won a best of 3. They're going on to the final best of 3 to find the world champion of Blizzcon 2010.
Now, there will be a little delay in between this best of 3 and the next one because players have to do what we call eliminating maps and setting up the map pool for the series. Because we play on a different map in every single game, each player gets the opportunity to downvote one map they don't like. So, for instance, if I don't like the map Kulos Ravine, I can just easily downvote that. So, it looks like we will just discuss the match to make sure that the players will be actually going into the next best of 3. You can see them bustling behind us. But, I mean, what do you think Loner could have done differently in those 2 games to be able to set up?
You know, I feel like all these players at this tournament are attacking a little bit too much. When you get the lead, make your lead bigger. Take that third base quicker. He can't attack you, so you may as well do it. Now, when you go and attack into him, you've spent so much on your units, and suddenly it's even again because you lose your whole army.
Yeah. And I'm a little disappointed with Loner not spreading out his units. I cannot re-emphasize that enough. My biggest disappointment is that nuke didn't land. That would have been something special.
That would have been, you know, nuking him, baiting his army in. If he had landed that nuke, it would have been a different game. It would have taken out at least 3 Colossus. And being such an expensive unit, when that game went so low economy, I think Loner definitely could have won if that had landed.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing you want to do when you're eliminating maps is you want to say, what map am I the weakest on, I'm not comfortable playing on it, or what map do I think my opponent is going to play best on? So that's what's going through their heads right now, and I'm sure after those two very evenly matched games, there's a lot of thought going on about, ooh, which one do I actually want to take out?
It's kind of crazy how different those two matches panned out. In the first one, literally no tanks were made at all in the game, just bio and a lot of Vikings, and pretty passive play from Loner. But in the second game, we saw Loner being quite aggressive right at the start with that big tank marine force and Banshee harassment. Very, very unusual when comparing it to his previous play in the tournament.
And one other thing to really keep in mind here is this is going to be their third best of three in as many hours. And that means that they both know each other's style very well. They've seen it so many times. So we may see just a split-second decision to do a different build order, either to trick your opponent or to punish him for what you know he's likely to do.
I got a question for you guys. Do you think there's a chance we're going to see some aggressive all-in builds here because that would be so different from what we saw previously? I mean, is there a possibility of that?
I mean, I think that it's a little bit of a mistake to be doing it at this point because these players have clearly demonstrated, not just in this series, but in their winners bracket finals, that they are just good at StarCraft 2. And whenever you do an all-in, you're essentially saying, I am only going to be playing this game for 7 minutes, and those are all the decisions that I have. And it's kind of funny how often when you're in a tournament situation, you get that urge to just, oh, I want to cheese and end it immediately. I want the easy win. But as we've clearly seen, there really aren't any easy wins in this final match.
But at the same time, I think that they would be foolish not to just consider what they could do. For instance, Next Genius, sometimes he makes very quick nexuses. And because of that, why not maybe, trick him a little bit, throw up a couple proxy barracks, and see if you can maybe just catch him off guard, get a quick free win. That would definitely throw him off his game.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a best of 3, so I think the first game is always the comfort zone for people to cheese because even if it loses, it has your opponent on their toes for the remaining matches. Best of 5s are normally where we frequently see cheeses in game 1 because even if you lose, you have plenty of time to catch back up. It's just kind of intense because everything's on the line. I think if Loner were going to cheese, he would have done it in this previous best of 3.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So if he's going to cheese, maybe we'll see it in the first game of the best 3. Other than that, there's no feeling worse than just switching your strategy at the last second in the game that matters and losing.
Now it looks like the only person left to join the game is me. My computer's trying as hard as it can, and there we are.
All right, so we're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going into the second best of 3 in the StarCraft 2 Grand Finals live from Anaheim, California at Blizzcon 2010. If you would like Loner to pull this series through for a first-place victory, give a cheer for Loner. And of course, Next Genius fans, the Protoss hero from South Korea, give a cheer if you want him taking the first-place ring tonight.
Up here at the north, on the old-school map, Lost Temple, of course, it's from StarCraft 1 and Warcraft 3, and now in StarCraft 2, we have Loner over here at the left as a Protoss is our Korean Next Genius.
And the maps that they've chosen for this match are quite similar to the last maps. We have Lost Temple, which was not used, and then we have Metalopolis and Scrap Station, both maps that we saw in the last pool. So obviously these players favoring those maps, but switching out Xel'Naga for Lost Temple.
Now let's talk a little bit about the history of what happened to these players in the winners finals. Interestingly enough, on Lost Temple, there's a lot of variation based upon the positions. If you are top versus right, you're close by air. If you're top versus bottom, you're just far away in general. But top versus left, what we have right now on Lost Temple are extremely close positions by ground. In fact, the exact same situation we found our players in the winners bracket, and Loner won that game convincingly with a very fast push. So let's see if Next Genius does opt to do the same strategy twice in a row.
Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the third base is just so unbelievably hard to get on this map. Look, they both share the gold base, so that's almost not an option unless you're a fruit dealer. And then, of course, over here they share an island, so that makes it pretty tough to get a third base. So you end up in situations where you have to expand to the other mains, or sometimes this gold base down here. That means that harass play, if you're using warp prisms, or if you're using medevacs, that's going to be the way you're going to win. So we might see that in the late game here.
And something to take into consideration, this is an important map for Loner to win. If he loses this map, he's going to play on maps that are a lot longer. And overall, in general, the shorter the map, the happier the Terran.
Absolutely, and really, honestly, Next Genius is the one who's been doing a lot more battling. He is the player who was knocked into the loser's bracket, who's had to battle through White Raw. He's the player who had to win the last best of 3, only to be given a reset in the series, not a victory. And it looks like Loner is playing very, very normally at this point, getting a barracks, a gas, and a fast orbital command in the Protoss camp, same thing.
So as you can see, this SCV here, he tried attacking the pylon. A lesser player would have pulled a probe off to try to attack it, but of course, the pylon has enough HP that he can get something out in time to do it. Look, he's going to do it again. Now, you guys might be thinking at home, well, so what? Why does it matter if he pulls off one probe when there's so many probes, many minerals? Well, at this high-level play, it really means a lot. It has a huge impact because they never miss a beat, people like this. They never forget to make an SCV. They never forget to make a probe.
And if you pull a probe off mining, that's maybe 25, 50 minerals. Yeah. That's half a zealot. That's huge if you actually start having those numbers add up. And Loner might actually take out this pylon if he kept wailing away at it. But at the same time, looks like that scout is getting completely denied by Loner. And meanwhile, in Loner's base, doing the good old fast tech lab play on his barracks. We haven't seen him do this quite yet with a factory.
No, this is something completely new from Loner. I can't wait to see what strategy he does. And whatever it is, it's something that Next Genius has not seen him do yet. So this is like what we were talking about before Day 9. He's switching up his play a little bit.
Absolutely, and it looks like, a Marauder Hellion push, one of my absolute favorite openings in Terran vs. Protoss. Pressure is going to be on fast.
Oh, this is a really good build. I think we saw OGS and Snare do this on the GSL. So,
yeah.
And he dominated with it. You can bust a ramp pretty quickly.
That's right. You know, the Hellion, it does a lot of splash damage. The problem with just attacking with Marauders is the probes can come out and help. With the Hellion there, they really can't because the Hellion will clean up the probes so fast. So this is going to be a very strong attack. And with just one Sentry out and one Stalker, Next Genius is going to be hard-pressed to hold this.
Hellion moving forward has already picked off that one probe. Next Genius has a a third finished Sentry. It is nowhere near finished. He needs to throw down the force field to block everything from coming up. I don't know if that actually blocks. It looks like it barely does. He's just trying to buy himself time, and you see that Sentry is increasingly getting close to finish. His warp gate is almost done. He's going to get a huge surge of units.
It looks like he's going to try to get up. Now, if this Sentry can get another force field, whoa, totally botched.
Bad force field right there, but he is chasing down that one Hellion. In the meantime, the Marauders and Marines walking up the ramp a little bit, deciding to turn around, and Loner has taken an interesting tech switch back at home.
Oh, wow, take a look at that. Swapping all these add-ons and stuff, and Command Center over here.
That's right. It's like he's teching all at once, just switching everything up. Realized that that wasn't going to work out because of the Sentry. And it forced Next Genius into making a lot of units, but already Next Genius throwing up the Nexus. Very similar timing to the Command Center of Loner. These guys are mirrors.
And I'm not so sure I like this very fast robotics bay by Next Genius. The big mistake Protosses make is to get a little too reliant on the Colossus, not only because it looks so cool, but also because it does a ton of damage. But without those gateway units, it's so weak.
Well, it looks like the Observer's seeing everything that Loner is up to. He is making that Banshee, which he loves so much. And, well, what do you think about this, Day 9?
Well, I mean, this is a great example of how economy management creates really good opportunities for players. In the time that Loner was doing this push, while he was doing those swaps with the buildings, he's not spending any money because all his unit-producing structures are in the air. With that money saved up, he throws down a command center. It's all those little timings that make these players so strong, as they know when they have what kind of resource and how to spend it.
That's right. Now this Banshee is going to come over and start to do some harassment as soon as it pops out. And we're going to have to see if Loner's going to be as greedy as he was in that Xel'Naga game. He needs to keep the Banshee alive. It's such an expensive unit that just throwing it away for 3 or 4 probes normally results in Loner getting a little bit behind.
Now, he did see the Banshee, so he should be prepared for it. But then again, he doesn't really have a whole lot of anti-air here. Oh, nice 1 kill, 2 kills.
Looks like he's getting a third. He's trying to go for the 4th. He does get it, and he smartly pulls away. This was the mistake he made on Xel'Naga Caverns, being too aggressive with that Banshee. But 4 kills on probes is still 4 free kills.
Oh, and look at this.
5.
Beautiful by Loner, just flying that Banshee all over the place, trying to be unpredictable with it. But there are a lot of Stalkers out. I wish that Loner would run this Banshee away, but it looks like, will he lose it? 10 hit points. Amazing. And it looks like he is going to go ahead and repair this unit while he walks up with siege tanks, marauders, and marines in a medevac. His stim, it's not quite half done. So if he attacks now, I'm not sure how well it'll do against this Colossus.
No, I was about to say we have this Colossus out here. He's got to be very careful.
Targeting the Nexus.
But no range down yet on that Colossus, it seems, so that Colossus is not nearly as good. He's pushing for it. The Colossus takes about 100 hit points of damage. He's darting forward without any upgrades. This is like watching the last game in slow motion. He does not have any stim yet. He's going to try to get forward and actually pick off that Colossus. This could be a huge, huge win for Loner.
Well, it looks like this is a very tense moment, and Next Genius decides to start moving out, uses one force field. Looks like he wanted to cut part of that army off and kill it, because if he can kill even just a small part of the army, then suddenly his army is fighting two halves instead of a whole.
Well, you can see Loner staying aggressive, controlling this Xel'Naga watchtower. I don't know if he's aware that Next Genius, of course, sees his every move, which makes it very difficult for the Terran to get into position.
And it looks like Loner right now, he's throwing up 3 more barracks, getting his upgrades. Stim almost complete, concussive shells on the way, and Viking production starting. So we're seeing very similar units come out of these players as the previous game.
And wow, still no range upgrade for Next Genius. That is so the problem of trying to get those Colossi too fast. You cannot afford the upgrades and making Colossi and units at the same time. So those Colossi are significantly weaker. And now that Loner sees that he can put a lot of pressure on his opponent, Next Genius doesn't really have a good time to get that essential range upgrade. And in the meantime, Loner is throwing down 5 barracks in his base. Gigantic force outside the front and already starting to gear up with some more Vikings.
Now, without that Colossus range, this is just such a huge deal. They really win because you keep them behind the units. They don't have as much health as most units that cost that much, so you have to block them off with the other units. Now, it looks like he's about to move out, but if the more open the territory, the worse it's going to be for Next Genius.
Terran is intimidated and now retreating.
I don't know if I like this at all. Oh no, and there's Leroy Jenkins making yet another cameo appearance, and it looks like Loner is pulling back. Does he have siege mode? No, he just has tanks to be able to deal a lot of damage. Oh, only just now started siege mode. What a weird twist to have these players right up in each other's faces with the start positions.
You know, these bases are so close, and as Tasus was saying earlier, it's very hard to take a third base. I think that this game, especially with how slowly they took their third bases in the last games, we're going to see it end on 2 base. It's going to be a massive push from both sides. And if we take a quick look at the supply, very close right now. Next Genius 123, Loner at 134.
Oh,
nice snipe.
Losing.
Those Vikings are quite valuable. That's basically the anti-Colossus. And for the time being, Next Genius seems to just be very comfortable on the map. I am really curious to see, though, when they're going to expand. They may even wait until they're about 170 supply before they get an expansion. Now, finally, that Observer dies. I think Loner's suddenly realizing why every one of his moves was being spotted back there.
And it looks like that range upgrade is just now finished for Next Genius. That was really the big point of that push. Just needed time to get the upgrade where it's so necessary. And there's this tank sieged up too late. He is having an amazing arc. This is the space that Loner has been needing all game long, but there are just too many zealots. Oh no, Loner trying to pull back, but look at how huge the army of Next Genius is. Another stim trying to pick off some more zealots, but really mainly trying to pull all of Next Genius's units away from his own main.
This is not good for Loner. He needed to move out a little slower. He did have tanks with siege mode, which is kind of the Terran equivalent of the Colossus, but he sieged them as everything was running up. And as you see, his army is in shambles. Next Genius has pulled far ahead here, 128 against 101 in supply. But if he attacks into the Terran, then things might not go as well as he wants.
So Loner knows he needs every little advantage he can get doing some good kiting against those zealots to try to pick them off.
We see he is moving in right now. Next Genius looks like he does want to try to go for the kill.
Loner's gonna have to pull in from all sides. There's the stim, and all the SCVs off mining as well, trying to do damage. The Zealots are just ripping through the Marauders at the front. The Vikings do manage to take out 1 Colossus, 2 Colossus falls, but will he have enough infantry to be able to clean up the ground gateway units? What really make those Colossi work? The last Colossus is down, but there's a huge gateway army right outside the front of Loner's base. The Vikings land, trying to clean up. Can he produce enough units in time?
I don't think
he's basically dead. He just hasn't left the game yet. I mean, yes, no SCV's mining here, just a mule.
Yeah, lost too much economy there, even though he ended up killing most of that.
There's the good GG. Wow, 3 in a row.
Yeah, it's looking quite close right now.
I mean, this is 3 wins in a row for Next Genius against Loner, and this is the worst mental state to be in as Loner. You came in with a lead in the best of 3s, you lost 2, and then had a convincing loss in the first game. He really needs to buckle down and begin being a little more aggressive if he wants to win.
Yeah, you know, Loner, he's playing some great games, but you know, you think he should be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
I think he should be a little bit slower. Those siege tanks just running out into the middle of the map to siege,
well,
that is not good, man. He needs to just take his time, make sure his units are in the right positions. When he has siege tanks and Vikings, there's no excuse for losing to Colossus.
That is true, absolutely. If you have any siege tanks in your army, one of the most important techniques is just knowing when to siege them and where, because too often, like in that last game, you don't want to be in the spot where you go, oh, wait a minute, I'm in a battle, I should siege up. And then he lost all his tanks. In these other games where he has more Marines and Marauders, though, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how passive he's been.
Yeah, you know, if you have Marines and Marauders, you have to be aggressive and reduce the size of the Protoss army. If you can reduce the gateway units, then the Colossus are not going to be nearly as strong.
Absolutely.
If you reduce the Colossus, the gateway units aren't nearly as strong. The Protoss really needs to focus on his unit composition. So if Loner can go ahead and be more aggressive with those early units, then maybe he can get the edge he needs to take a win.
They're ready. Are you guys ready? All right, then let's start this game. This is the second best of 3. We're in game 2 of the second best of 3. If Loner loses this, he's out. If he wins this and then wins the next game, then he wins.
So if you want Loner to pull the miracle comeback, he's down 0-1, give a cheer for Loner. And if you want Next Genius, the Korean superstar, to close this series in this game, give a cheer for Next Genius.
So speaking of Next Genius, he's over here at the top right. And Loner down here at the bottom center. Now, what's interesting about these positions is this is the same problem. These two, no, I shouldn't say the problem. The burden these two are both faced with is that third expansion problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
They both share this third base. So that means they're going to have to expand in these far out regions, which means we could see some very heavy 2-basing. In other words, they're just going to be making units off 2 bases, and it's just going to be a slugfest in between the map.
You know, Metalopolis, it's a similar map to Lost Temple in a lot of ways, being a 4-player map, having close positions, faraway positions. And these are basically the same positions that we saw last game on Lost Temple. And I think the game is going to play out somewhat similarly. You know, they're going to both have to sit on 2 base for so long because expanding is just so far away that, you know, using your minerals on something so far away that isn't going to help you right then may result in a loss from any attack.
And one thing to note, if we go over to Next Genius's natural expansion, we can see how wide, spread open that is. Look at the amount of space that Loner will have to control his units, to micromanage those units. On Lost Temple, he didn't have that advantage, so Loner might be feeling a little bit more comfortable if he does literally the exact same thing as last game.
Pro Baratzin over here, just like the previous game. Let's see if he can manage to force this SCV to get off the barracks. That buys him a few seconds. It does. Loner immediately puts another SCV on there, however.
You know, that's very interesting what you just said, Day9. The exact same build that he used last time would be great in these positions on this map. But the thing is, he did that, it was kind of a new strategy that he pulled out. He didn't use it in any of his previous 5 games against Next Genius, which means it wasn't his most confident strategy. When you couple that with the fact that he lost that game, who knows?
And it looks like, oh no, Next Genius tried to kill off an SCV, but actually died. All the SCVs surrounded it and picked it off, so not only does he get denied on scouting, he also is feeling a lot more unconfident going into this next game.
Now for Loner, he's continuing to scout around the map. He's got a good idea of what his opponent's doing. Generally, the Protoss player won't make his true tech path until the SCV is taken out. The only real way to take out that SCV is to chrono boost a stalker out, and you see that's happening just now.
And he did see...
He's attacking the Arcturus Mech statue. He should be attacking that probe.
Well, he wants it dead so badly. This has actually been a consistent leak in his game that he tries to kill the inanimate object on the map more so than his actual enemy.
Jim Raynor is not a terrorist.
Well, you know, there is one good reason. There is one good reason to go ahead and kill that statue. Void Rays can, of course, charge up on it. It's so close to the Terran base. So it's a good thing that he does take that out. But one thing I'd like to point out is that Next Genius did show a second gas to Loner. And look at this. Loner gets into the base with an SCV. I guess he bribed his way in with those minerals. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. He actually stole these minerals, I believe, earlier from Next Genius.
You want these back?
Want these back? Come get me.
So it looks like Next Genius tried to do a little poke with that Stalker. Did get pushed back by Loner. It looks like Loner is actually going to be a little bit aggressive. And oh no, this SCV is in the main, is actually distracting Next Genius from the front, and they just walk right into the main. There's one Sentry and one Stalker, and and he really needs to begin target firing that Stalker. No, he's target firing the weaker Sentry that takes less damage, and there's a target fire on the Stalker. This is the exact thing that Loner wants. There's going to be a Zealot coming out, but he does have concussive shell. There's that nice spread beginning to micro against that Zealot, and he really needs to pick off that Stalker. And will he get it? Yes, he does indeed take it out. If he can pick off the Sentry, that Marauder's going to do a lot of damage.
Beautiful right there, using the probes in a force field to block that Marauder. And with the Zealot going after it, Loner's not going to be able to keep that Marauder alive much longer.
This Marauder probably pretty pissed. His suit is so heavy he can't move faster right now. He's continuing with this attack. Is this guy going to live? No, okay. This attack has been botched. I want to take a moment here to point out the reason why he managed to make that work was he actually used the smoke to hide the units over there, and that's what caused that attack with the Marauders to fail.
And oh no, while Loner was in the base trying to do as much micro as he could to keep those units alive, his money skyrocketed, and he's only just now able to spend another Marine. Looks like he is just marching off to his death. That is another big problem that happens with early aggression. You forget to re-rally your buildings, so Loner, even though he's not in a terrible spot, is definitely feeling, at the very least, unconfident.
Now, he's going to have to do some real damage. Next Genius is taking another base. He is taking that natural expansion. At the same time, he has the robotics facility out, so he has more tech and an expansion about to go up. So with Loner making 2 more barracks and a factory, he's going to have to get a lot of attacking units pretty quickly here and do a push. But look at that, a robotics support bay. It looks like he's going to go for that very fast Colossus that you don't like so much, Day 9.
Yeah, he is getting some Immortals, though, so I'm at least a little bit happy. But, I mean, especially in these positions, with the amount of barracks that Next Genius is throwing down and a starport, Loner is throwing down a lot of barracks and a starport. And if Loner can begin pushing at just the right times, Next Genius will be absolutely in a bad position.
Okay, Loner's going to do another timing attack here. Sometimes players bring the SCV here for this, to have the SCV tank the first few shots, or you can make a bunker, just depends. Now, he does have a chance to cancel the Nexus.
And here comes the army of Next Genius.
Oh, is he going? He lets it finish, and there's the stim. Oh no, I don't think that Next Genius is going to have enough units at all. Look at that amazing control by Loner. All he needs to do is pick off the Nexus. He's target firing it. It's at half health. The probes are now moving down. If he can stim and kill off that Nexus, that was his game ending right there. It is at 25% health. The probes are now darting forward, and Next Genius may have pulled it off, may have saved it, but now he's microing forward. He target fires the Immortal, and the Immortal still going to life.
The Immortal lives, that's huge, but a lot of probes are dying here. Finally, the Immortal goes down, and if he can just clean up this little army and get that Nexus, Loner will basically have this game in his pocket, but this is just a great pushback by Next Genius. I cannot believe that he kept that Nexus alive.
I can't believe, I am speechless. That's not my, I know my AD is tasteless, but I'm actually speechless. But maybe I will go back to tasteless in advance. I almost wonder if he should have just focus fired it and sacked the army, but then again, I guess that would kind of equalize the game again.
But medevacs are out. Expansion going up for Loner. He's trying to do a little darting in and out antics right here, but Next Genius is very low on money. Only has 1 half-finished Colossus. He needs to start getting those numbers up higher and higher, and Loner, for the first time ever, is actually loading units into the medevac in the center of the map. He knows his opponent is low on units. Medevacs are very, very effective at picking off lone stalkers, and if he keeps this medevac harass up, Next Genius will crumble because of that very fast Colossus.
Now, the cool thing about this medevac is it's going to draw the units into the main. If he also attacks the Nexus at the natural at the same time, he may be able to take it down while diverting the attention of Next Genius. See, here comes the army of Next Genius, and here are some units, but not quite enough to kill that Nexus. Here we go, the Colossus going up, and he is not going to attack this Nexus, unfortunately.
And the 2 Marines are not doing anything.
What, did these guys run out of bullets? I thought he was going to just go over there and attack the Nexus. Okay.
But the dropship, it is alive and well. The units went back into the natural, and here he comes for another drop. Nothing up here at all, but the Colossus making his way over and stimming. Will he? No, doesn't.
Oh!
Wow.
That is really the big danger of doing any sort of medevac drop harass. You absolutely need to retreat if you are in an awkward position. If you lose that medevac, you have had a huge dent to your play. So you have to be very, very careful, and this is what you don't want to have happen. The big counter push from Next Genius.
Oh, this is going to be scary.
If he can get a force field up here over at this ramp, he can cut off the Terran, reinforcing his army, and that can result in straight up GG.
And it looks like Next Genius swinging around. He force fields the bunker. Nothing can actually repair that properly. It's a very, very well-placed force field, but it looks like the Vikings are there chipping away at that Colossus. Remember, the Colossus does not have the range upgrade yet, so it cannot really perform too well in that fight.
Yeah, that was actually a nice defense there by Loner. The Vikings are really what made him decide, okay, I have to get out of here. If I lose this Colossus, I'm going to be in terrible shape. So now it looks like they are beginning to get a little bit more even. It looks like 78 supply against 83, pretty close, and there's just going to be a lot of aggression from here on out.
You can see Next Genius is kind of debating almost, should I even engage right now? Because they both know getting the third base is going to be the nightmare situation. And of course, Loner does have medevacs, which are pretty accessible for the Terran. It's not like you have to go out of your way to get them. So Next Genius is in sort of an awkward position here.
Yeah, you know, if he can do a little bit more drop harass, he can just split up the army, keep Next Genius busy, and then Next Genius really can't attack him. That's kind of what Loner wants. He wants to stay 2-base versus 2-base for as long as possible.
And it looks like Loner wants to be the king of kiting, is only making Marauders. If you look back in his base, he has 5 barracks just churning them out. There's the good scan. Marauders are very, very versatile. They can deal good damage to almost all units, and because they're so fast, you can always pull back in time. And here's the big push from Next Genius. I don't know if I like this push so much. Does he have that range upgrade? It is at 75% completion. Looks like that timing window for Loner is rapidly closing.
Note the positioning of the depots. That's very intentional. He wants to have all this stuff obstructing any zealots that would run in there so the Marauders can fire over them. And of course in StarCraft 2 you can actually sink your depots. See? See, I'm right. Just did it, thank you. And that means that if he needs to get his army out quickly, he could just sink them. If he needs to be turtling, or if you're a noob, you don't know what turtling is, it's where you're hiding your base, then you can do that too.
And it looks like big push from Loner right now is trying to get in a good position. The Guardian Shield's going down. Can he deal enough damage? But uh-oh, this is probably the only closed-off spot on the map, so that's why Next Genius is trying to engage at that ramp.
That's right. He needs to keep those Marauders clumped up so that his Colossus does a lot of damage. And it looks like he's even going to throw down some photon cannons to help out. Those are pretty good against him overall. But here come the Vikings. This is going to be huge. He spreads out, and a lot of good forest fields. The Vikings, though, doing huge damage to these Colossus.
Oh, my goodness. He's taken out one. Can he take out a second one? It does go down, but that Marauder count is getting increasingly small, and there is only one medevac to deal. There's the restem. The third Colossus falls. If he can possibly get more Marauders into this fray, he might be able to take it out, but it looks like Next Genius is going to be retreating. Yet another almost completely even exchange.
That's right. The foods are so close. 95 supply, 101 supply against 101 now. These guys, they are just so evenly matched. But I like the army right now of Next Genius. He's got, look at that. That's a pretty good army.
Yeah, he has about 7 Stalkers, a handful of Zealots, and 2 Colossi, but he needs to be careful. Looks like he's scanning himself, just wants to make sure he's not messing up.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's one wasted mule. He's trying to figure out the position of Next Genius's army, which, by the way, he's been very mobile, so it's kind of hard to spot. Most lesser players just keep their army right here, but since he does have some map control, he's moving around the map. And here's finally the part where this starts to get awkward. They both have to get a third base.
Yeah.
And I think they're both going to try to hide an expansion somewhere up here.
That's right. It's hard to scout over there right now. You can't really use your scans. You can't really send units because you need them all for battle. So the SCV and the probe are going to be the only things that do go out there. Now, it looks like the SCV going up here. Whether it's to scout for a third base or expand himself, it's hard to say. Oh, he was going to scout. Probe was out of range. And now if he makes a nexus there, it's going to be completely unknown to Loner.
Meanwhile, looks like a big Marauder Viking force continuing to be produced. And if we look at the next Genius camp, his Colossus count isn't as high as it used to be, but it's the gateway unit count that's really scary. Marauders are quite bad against Zealots, so even though Loner does have a very large army, there's a little bit too much of those melee units there trying to poke around the base of Next Genius. Oh no, the Twilight Council is only halfway finished. Twilight Council, very important at this phase because there's an upgrade that allows Zealots to move faster. So until that time, the Marauders will maintain strength.
That's right. If he can switch over to mostly Zealot and Immortal Army with Charge, that is going to crush the army that Loner has right now. It's almost pure Marauder, few medevacs in there, and Vikings, and here we go. It looks like they may engage.
And there's the spread out. He stims, and he's already picked off one Colossus. The Zealot count is doing huge amounts of damage. The force fields are just splitting all the Marauders. Oh no, all of Loner's units are taking huge amounts of damage. There's only one Colossus left. Can Next Genius pull this off? The Colossus are all down. If it's just Marauders against Stalkers, the Marauders are in Happy Town, but no, more force fields, more Zealots streaming in. Looks like Loner is now having to land Vikings if he wants to stay alive, and all the SCVs trying to engage as well.
This is Loner's last chance. He has to try to hold off this attack. He has to rebuild. He's already been forced to pull his SCVs off. That's a sign that you are so desperate that it's the last resort. You can see he's late on his mule timing.
Looks like another attack coming here from Next Genius. He has so many units, but you know, we've seen him make this mistake before. Will it be a mistake this time? Attacking once again while being ahead. And you can see in the supplies, not a huge distance ahead by 15, but Loner, he doesn't really have Vikings anymore. So few of them, it's going to be hard to take out the Colossus.
But there's a lot of Marauders there. If he can spread them properly, he can do a lot of damage. And here's the big push coming up from Next Genius. Looks like Loner is not comfortable enough to engage. That Zealot count is just so high. And in the main of Next Genius, oh no, forgot to get the charge upgrade. That could just be pivotal if Loner can get his foot back down and just return back to his usual play.
You can see that he was actually trying to bait him out here, just engaging these depots. He was hoping that the Terran would stim and rush forward, in which case Next Genius would just run away, and it's a wasted stim. The medevacs would have had to use up all their energy. Okay, he's going to try to do it again.
Uh-oh. Looks like lifting the orbital command, going to try to push out with all SCVs and Marauders, and Next Genius just smartly pulling back to that ramp. It is really the smallest choke point on the map. Just wants to control right there. And here comes the stim and the engagement from Loner.
It looks like Next Genius, he does not want to let this game fall out of his hands. He is definitely in control, and he keeps placing down these force fields to make sure that when they engage, it's exactly how Next Genius wants it.
Well, looks like he did drive out the pylon. Now remember, while Loner's hurting pretty bad right now, Next Genius doesn't have a third base either. So let's see if we look at the mineral patch, about 535 minerals over there. This one about 600. So they're almost dead even right now. Somebody's going to have to get an expansion up here. Guardian Shield. He forces him to lift again and adroitly returns to the high ground position. This might be it. All the SCVs here are going to die.
The Colossi are trying to do as much damage as they can, and they are doing huge amounts of hurt. Only 20 food and good game. Next Genius takes the series, winning 2 best-of-3s in a row, 4 wins in a row. Next Genius is your StarCraft 2 Blizzcon 2010 champion.
Wow. Wow. That is so amazing. What a great tournament. A great way to end it. The guy who comes from the loser bracket, just giving no quarter, Day 9.
Absolutely unbelievable. And here's our champ, Next Genius. Wave to the crowd, Next Genius. Don't look at us. Indeed.
Give it up to him, guys. We're, check. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. No? Somebody turn up my mic. Check. We're going to get a translator here in just a minute. We're supposed to.
And we'll be doing an interview with our 2 players. Next Genius, of course, our first place player from South Korea, winning $25,000 and the hearts of the fans around the world. And of course, Loner, even though he lost this series today, he still takes $10,000 in second place. Give it up for Loner.
You know, Loner did such a great job today. He
won the winner bracket. I don't think anyone coming into this tournament thought he was going to be the one to win the winner bracket. He beat Next Genius once, but it just wasn't enough. Next Genius practicing so much in Korea, an ex-StarCraft 1 pro gamer, a lot of experience behind him, amazing display of skill as well.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more myself, and it looks like our second place player has just emerged from his booth. Nick, did you have a favorite moment in that finals that we just saw?
Gosh, I think that final battle was just so cool. Watching the two players go back and forth, trying to engage each other. Really, the stand was running out of the hourglass back there. He did not have a lot of time because eventually somebody was going to have to get into a third base, so that was really an exciting game. We're still waiting for a translator. So
we're still
I'm not
waiting
sure if
for
get
one translator. That's right. And of course, let's not forget about the fact that White Raw took third place at this tournament. I don't know where he is, but he at the very least deserves a cheer. And we might get another huge cheer for Demaga, the fourth place player at BlizzCon. Korea, China, Ukraine, and Ukraine, the top four here at BlizzCon 2010. So it looks like we were just trying to arrange to have a translator. Oh, look at the timid translator stepping out onto the stage.
All right, so we got a translator here. Sean, you asked the first question.
So, of course, Next Genius, how are you feeling after your first place win at BlizzCon? No one speaks Korean on the stage except Next Genius. Oh, yes, fantastic. We have a translator.
He feels like he's gonna fly.
All right. My next question is, how does it feel to be at BlizzCon? Do you have anything to say? It's a mic? I've never used a mic before. Check, check. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so.
Well, you know what? I have a question for Next Genius while we sort out some technical difficulties. So I am curious, Next Genius, what did you do to practice for this tournament? What did he do to practice for this tournament?
레더 게임을 했고요. 레더를 했고 아는 친분 있는 사람들과 많이 했습니다.
He just played on ladder and play against the friends that plays good.
So we have one final question for Next Genius. What was the hardest moment of this entire tournament for you?
많이 힘들었는데 네, 우승은 충분히 할 수 있을 거라고 생각했습니다.
It was pretty tough, but it was not really that hard to win this tournament.
Part of me hopes that that's not what he actually said and that was just on the spot. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, we will be heading down to the championship rings to present our players with their awards because we know that this isn't just about money. These players are passionate competitors. Huge round of applause again to your champion, Next Genius. And here we are. These are the championship rings. Next Genius will, of course, get the first place ring. Loner will be getting the second place ring. I don't think, is there anything else that you want to say, Artosis and Nick, to everyone who is watching on the stream for BlizzCon 2010?
Thank you, everyone, so much for watching us here at BlizzCon. It's been an excellent tournament, and especially thank you to all the players out there that participated in the ladders, got here to BlizzCon. This truly was a universal world championship.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Please check us out at the GSL and check out our shirts at thehandsоmenerd.com. And congratulations to Next Genius. It was a real honor and a pleasure casting your games. And we love all you guys at Blizzcon. Thanks for joining us.
And of course, we have to give a huge shout out to the fans, everyone who came out to BlizzCon, everyone who's on the stream. We know that esports wouldn't be possible without you. Give yourselves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We love our passion, we love our games here in esports. So with that, I am Sean, Day 9 Plot. This is Dan Artosis Stemkoski, and there is my brother Nick, Tasteless Plot. Thank you for joining us for the StarCraft 2 tournament here at BlizzCon 2010 from Anaheim, California. Good night.